So the kit itself doesn't have a lot of components, but it's a really nice tank, and being a modern kit, it has a lot of detail. Hello, this is BJ from Hearns Hobbies, and today I'm going to be having a closer look inside this particular kit. This is the Takom Polish PL-01 prototype tank. So it's a very modern looking tank. Initially it was designed as a mock-up for 2013, I think, a fair. So it's one of those trade shows where they demonstrate various ideas and equipment for sale to various countries. So it's based on a Swedish tank hull, and in combination with BAE Systems, I think it was a Polish group that put this together. And the whole idea is it's a light tank. So it's a small tank, fairly fast. So it was designed to travel at 70 kilometers an hour on paved roads, and I think it was 50 kilometers an hour off-road. It's low crew, so it uses 3 crew. There's a driver, commander and a gunner. They're all in the hull, so they're protected in the main section, and the turret itself is unmanned. So it has an auto-loading cannon, which is quite common within Russian and Eastern Bloc type tank designs. But being in NATO, it's designed to use regular NATO ammunition. So it could have been fitted with a 105 or a 120mm gun. So small tank, big armament. Also has self-defense systems. So it'll be able to defend against rocket attack. And also there's a close quarters machine gun attached as well, which will be remote control. All right, let's have a look inside and see what's involved. So as I open it, so they call it a light tank, but when I pull up the hull, it actually looks pretty sizable. It's interesting with the angular design. So the concept is covered in a, I guess a stealth type material. So they're using the very angular shapes, a bit like the stealth fighters as well. When you look at the bottom, you can see how narrow it is. So it is a reasonably small tank. World War II sort of standards, it'll be like a longer version of a Panzer IV, I guess. You can see it had modular armor on the sides, and then it's also got a compartment at the back. I think it was to hold 4 soldiers. So it could be, it's like a heavily armored personnel carrier. 3 inside the crew, and then 4 at the back, like grenadiers. You can see here there's a driver's compartment. I'm not too sure exactly where the commander and the gunner would have been, but I imagine they would have been in this sort of section around here. It had room for about 15 rounds, I think, 16 being in the turret itself, and then the rest being kept below deck. So there you go there, that's the main hull. So on the top section here, you've got a few other bits and pieces which I don't quite recognize. We'll find out in the manual. It could be parts of the close quarters machine gun. Over here we have a section of clear parts. So these would be for the weapons guidance systems, and also they appear to be vision blocks, which is quite common in tanks. All right, so here we get a big piece of the turret. So you see this very interesting angular shape, which is surrounding the barrel of the gun. Quite a broad turret, but it's very low profile. And then you have the muzzle there of the gun itself. Again, quite interesting with the shape. You can just see here the 7.62 close-in weapons machine gun. Got some of the ammo rounds there, which have got quite a nice natural shape to them, because the ammo belts would be quite flexy. Apart from that, what do we have here? So that's part of, it's probably the rear end. So if that's the rear end, there'll be the access doors for the infantry. As part of the front, additional armor, you've got the mud flaps. Quite like this shape. And there's an option of a digital camo, which looks really good on this particular tank. So you can just notice here, you can see a little bit of texture. It's It's probably more noticeable on the hull itself. It's a very rough texture, gives the impression of a anti-slip surface, and that also gives the impression of the anti-reflective coating that's on the tank. All right, so that's the main components of the turret. Here's the top of the turret. It's quite interesting too. Again, you can see that the rough texture, and then you can see certain areas where it's quite smooth. So the differential there, where you've got additional, what's that one? That'll be the aiming device, I'd say, part of the targeting system. On the sides here, these are the mounts for the self-defense systems, so anti-rocket. Up the top, not too sure what's on the top. I doubt it'd be a regular hatch. I don't know. Let's wait for the instructions and we'll find out. Might be an access hatch, but as you can see, put that there, and then you've got barrel out to here. It's very low profile. Looks really cool. So even though they haven't actually made any of these, it makes a really nice kit. It looks really interesting, and you could easily put that into a futuristic type sci-fi type model as well. Here you've got the side armor panels. So these are the panels that go on the side of the hull. You'll have the track along the bottom, so you imagine just how protected the road wheels and the suspension is. And these are all modular, so you can see the panel lines going through. So all these components were easily changed. And you can see with Takom, they do have the very fine and quite deep panel lines. So once you paint it, it'd be quite easy to put the panel liner in them, just to enhance those details. All right, now we're getting into road wheels. So nice detail on the road wheels, even though you won't see very much of these. You can see the individual nuts around the centers, and then this ribbing that's on the side of the tire. You got the suspension struts. So part of those were a torsion bar system as well. And then these are, I think, the anti-rocket systems which are mounted on the turret. And then you have another sprue, identical. Oh, the sprockets there as well, of course. Okay. Then we have the tracks. So the tracks are very nice. So they're not the ultimate individual ones. I mean, individual ones look fantastic, but there's a lot of work in cleaning them up. So there's a few individual ones here for doing the tight curves. And then there's certain sections of straight panels. So it just makes building the tracks easier. There's also the template there to help you build the track so you get the correct droop. See how crisp they are in the inside. So much better than any rubber tracks you could get. And then very close in detail to individual tracks without the hard work of individual tracks. So there's two sprues there. Does it cover both sides? Okay, so that's very nicely thought out. All right, so here we've got the manual. A little bit of photo etch right here. Not very much, but just a little bit to add to the effect. And then we've got the manual here. I'll just open this up and we'll have a close look. We've got the decals here. Let's just unseal this. Okay. All right, so I'll leave the brass in there. Here's the decals. Not a lot of decals because, I mean, modern markings, you don't want to have too many markings because you don't want it too visible. But you got the PL-01 that's written there, the code name for this particular prototype. There's a few warning labels and such. Okay, let's have a look at the manual. So a nicely printed manual. Bit of the history here regarding the design of this tank. I have here a few little tips. And then the full listing of all the parts, the sprue codes, and then also each part is numbered. So as you go through the manual, if you're not too sure what you're looking for, you can quite easily cross-check for this particular plan. Okay, and then you start building. So pretty standard with all tanks, you start building the hull. So you can see here where the track template is put onto the suspension. So it makes everything all lined up. And then you get into all the wheels going on. Sprocket. And then this is showing you how you use the actual template and how it goes together. So you can see all the individual items here at the very extreme corners where you have the greatest bends. And then the straighter pieces are used in the areas where there's less. So you can see there's a large piece, smaller, and then smaller again to get this particular curve. Same with the other side. Now templates is a relatively new thing. I first saw them on men kits, and it's definitely very well thought out, because most of the time you will be sitting these on a flat surface, and when you've got a suspension like this which is designed to work on a not flat surface, it's often very difficult to make it even. So they've made it a lot easier with this. Okay, so there's your final track going in to make the base. It's all flat. So you can see here that nice little droop, helped by the template. So here we're doing the back end. So this is the entry for the infantry area. Got the mud guards going in, front section armor, and then this is the cover for the driver's compartment. So these will be the clear vision blocks, and then the top of the hull is attached to the bottom of the hull. Over here we've got those big side panels, a big armor that covers up the tracks for the protection. So basically you'll just have a bit of the bottom of the wheels visible and the lower tracks. Here we've got the remote close-in defense system. So 7.62 machine gun, which is mounted on a remote control gimbal. And so there it is, all in one piece. Here's the belt for the ammo. So that's one sub-assembly. Now we start working on the main gun. So you've got the barrel covers put together, and then you've got the muzzle going on. Over here we have the protection systems. So these are to launch against rockets which are attacking the tank. So here we go here. There's the center part where you would expect to see a hatch, and that's where the close-in weapon system is placed, which makes sense, being directly in the center there. You'll have full rotation and cover, full 360 degrees. Alright, and then over here we've got the turret going together. So you've got the gun, base of the turret, top, with this particular, I guess it's side armor protection. Only seems to be on one side though. So you've got more detail on the sides there. Turret goes onto the hull, and that's finished. So over here is the different versions of the camouflage, which they anticipated to be used, and this is that interesting digital camo. So if you want something really painful, but something that looks really fantastic, because I think this works really well with the angular shape, or this square ridge digital camo. That's a lot of work there. So you can get some masking which is already pre-cut, or you can be a real madman like I probably would and just do that freehand. Over here you've got a woodland type camo, single color green, and there's another different pattern here, more forest type. And this is giving you an indication of where the decals are going as well. So there's a few decals around the place. Then over here, a few other options that they make. That's it. So that's my open box review of the Polish PL-01 tank prototype. So the kit itself doesn't have a lot of components, but it's a really nice tank, and being a modern kit, it has a lot of detail which is already molded into the surfaces of the panels. So say the anti-slip type, anti-reflective type finish. And then there's also quite nice tracks, not too complicated, semi-individual. And there you go. That's a PL-01 light tank with a big gun.